It's with great joy that I am going to introduce and welcome our guest speaker today. She is the author of How to Know What You Know, Recognizing the Real You. She's also the host of a YouTube show called The Conscious Reality Show. Drawing on her experience as both a public interest lawyer and a science of mind minister, she helps people reconnect with their inner wisdom and discover lasting healing and transformation. Today she will share her lesson, Recognizing the Real You. Please join me in giving a warm Unity of Buffalo welcome to Sara Stevens Nichols.
Thank you, Mary Beth. Thank you, everyone. Good to see you all. I always like to warn people who haven't ever met me before about something. But first I'll say that the reason you have me here from California, other than I have a book and I like to speak everywhere I go, is that we come here almost every year because my husband grew up just a few blocks from here. And he's here with me today, as well as other family and friends. So I am very blessed and grateful that a center that didn't know me from Eve said yes. Yay. So the warning, here's the warning. The warning is, or the advisory, perhaps is a better word, that if you think I'm making a joke, I probably am. So do laugh. A lot of people are like, was that? Because that can be kind of deadpan. So to practice for that, and also because it's just incredibly fun to do it, we're going to do some laughter yoga. I don't know if any of you ever done it? Okay. So I will rock back and forth, a little back from the mic because it'll terrify you otherwise, and laugh. And you will laugh with me. You just start rocking and laughing until you're really laughing, okay? Okay. Thank you. You've been great. Good job. You did it. That's fantastic. Yeah, so has anybody in this room, raise your pinky, if you've ever been shown clearly to do something that you're here to do on the planet and you haven't done it yet? Yeah. Well, you're in good company. I love that Unity of Buffalo lists the shadow qualities, because I'm totally all of those shadow qualities. I'm in recovery from being all those shadow qualities, but I definitely have them. And one of the shadow qualities I have that's not listed is extreme procrastination. And I have been shown for a really long time to write a book. Probably some of you have too, whether you wrote it or not. And when my husband and I were in Washington, D.C., and young advocates for public interest there, I vomited all sorts of notes about what I imagined was my really amazing and fascinating life into my computer. I've never been a hand writer because I can't even read my own writing. So the second there were devices to put it on, I was putting it on there. And I never did anything with it. I still have the vomit. It's available in vomit form at this point. Good, you're laughing, that's great. And then when we moved to California, we moved to Sacramento to continue being advocates, and at this point with small children, I continued to work, and my area, my advocacy area was healthcare for all, working to get Medicare for all for the country, which, as you can tell, I was incredibly successful at. I worked very hard at that when I was in Washington and then also in California. In Washington, after that, I was actually shadow quality, so megalomaniacal that I really thought had I worked harder, we would have had Medicare for all. You know, Bill Clinton couldn't get his health care plan through the United States Congress, but somehow I was supposed to have been able to do that. And I was pretty angry at myself for a long time. And then for many, many years, our son struggled with health, with his own, he had a health issue from the time he was 9 till the time he was 19. And it was very mysterious and horrible, and we went to dozens and dozens, everything from every pediatric blancologist you can think of to shaman, you know, and everything to find what was going on and what could heal him. And so I thought that would make a great topic for a book, someone who's working as a healthcare advocate to improve the health system and get healthcare for all and can't heal their child. And so I vomited a whole manuscript, well, not manuscript, but, you know, computer script of that into a computer and did nothing with it. But that I worked on more later and really even got structure, but I didn't make that into a book. And then I was in so much pain during that time emotionally, partly because I put so much pressure on myself, right? I was a complete failure at Medicare for All, and as you know now, I mean, you already knew there was no Medicare for All, you just didn't know who to blame, so. And I was a complete failure as a mother because for all those years, my child wasn't well. He's well now, by the way. He healed himself. So, you know, we did some things to help have him learn more about that, but he healed himself, and he's very healthy. So, which is amazing, but I was in so much pain, and I washed up at the doors of a center for spiritual living in West Sacramento, California, and I just took class after class after class because I wanted to be able to access something that would free me from this pain and would make me feel like I was okay and like I could do life, you know. And eventually that led to my being a licensed practitioner, a spiritual practitioner in that, and also a minister, which is one of the reasons you see me up here right now. And I led my own, it also led me to 12-step recovery from addiction. And it's difficult for me to untangle sometimes the amount of influence 12-step recovery has had on my spiritual growth as opposed to or in addition to Science of Mind and New Thought. But I went to services all the time, and every once in a while, very seldom actually, our very charismatic spiritual leader would take a break and would have guest speakers. And two of those guest speakers influenced me to the point where I actually finally wrote the book, but it took longer still. And so it's very important to pay attention to guest speakers, by the way, because you never know. You never know. One of them, I don't know if you ever heard of him or read his book. Terry McBride wrote a book called The Hell I Can't, and it was about how he healed his body from an extreme, he was riddled as a young man totally randomly with infection in his bone marrow, in every single part of his bone marrow in his whole body. Anybody ever read it? Terry McBride, The Hell I Can't. And he was involved in either one of these kinds of centers where we affirm and we know our health and we know our truth. And he actually didn't buy it. He didn't buy any of that. He thought it was BS. But he liked it enough that he kept coming and sort of wanted to buy it, but he still didn't buy it because he was riddled with, everyone around him was, you are whole, and he was going to die, or he wasn't going to. The best case scenario is he was going to be in a wheelchair with a colostomy bag. And then I think what really got Terry's attention was that he wouldn't have any sexual function, and he was only 25, and he really wasn't ready for that. That's a joke too, but he did make that joke. That was the main thing that got his attention. But then he was shown. Everyone from Unity or wherever he was going kept coming there and saying, you can heal yourself. We will pray for you until you heal yourself. And he said, I don't think I can heal myself, but I think there's someone who can, and I can find him. And that's what I'd like you to pray for. And so I'm going to just mention that to you, is that I have actually found that even though you can have other people know the truth for you and they can know something that you can't know, it can be very useful to focus on what's the best thing I know. Like, maybe I don't really believe, best thing I believe is another way to put it. What's the best thing I believe? And then focus on that with your mind. That can happen. And actually, that's one of the things that I focused on greatly after hearing him, because he was like, I believe there's someone who can help me. And then he found out there was this really high-priced, fancy surgeon. He was in Seattle, and the surgeon was in Japan. That was the only guy in the world that knew how to surgically remove this infection from bone marrow. And he was incredibly expensive. This guy had no money. And he said, I can get that guy to do the surgery. And he focused on that. And he got that guy to do the surgery, and somehow it got paid for, I don't remember. And then he got the guy to do another surgery and another. Apparently it was like 7 surgeries, and he's totally well. Well, this was something that influenced me and taught me, and then another person there influenced me even more, who wrote the book Divine Revelation. And that was a book about how to know what you know, essentially. Yeah, and everything that I wrote in my book, I stole from other people, just so you know. But it is in there. It is all in there. She told us that the way she wrote her book was every step of the way going within and seeing what it is that was hers to do, and then doing it. Susan Shumsky was her name. And I began to think about everything that way at that time. There's a lot of other stuff that happened on the way. When I was becoming a minister, I was working for the largest union in the state of California. And it was a very bizarre time in my life, because I was literally going from, I was in ministerial school, and I would go to lead a peace meditation in Sacramento outside, and then I would walk into our building, into the war room that we had, where we screamed expletives about what we were going to do to so-and-so if they didn't vote our way. And so it was just peace, war, and that was my life. And I thought that was pretty interesting, and vomited a lot of words about that as well. I was fired from that job eventually, and I was very angry about it, and I used the tools that I have to heal myself. And later on, I led the Center for Spiritual Living Davis for 5 years, and that was wonderful. And then I was shown to leave, and how I knew to leave was using tools I have to go within and to know this is mine to do. I spent years and years and years in recovery and in the spiritual world counseling and giving sessions to people and talking to them about what was going on with them. And they would say to me in many, many contexts, okay, everyone, like in recovery, they'll say, we pray only for God's will for us and the power to carry that out. And they would say, how do I do that? How do I know? I know how to, I could pray for God's will. I could say, God's will be done, show me your will, but how do I recognize it? How do I actually know? And especially if I don't believe in God, how do I know it? How do I recognize what's there if I don't believe in God? And then within the context of New Thought, people would say, well, the indwelling God and the outside God are the same God, and God is all there is, and there isn't a God in the sky with a beard and a cane who's arranging events for us, so God has no will. So what is this thing that you're contacting, and what is that, and how do you contact it? Right? So these are the kinds of questions that people have asked me for years. So I started to really think about it and write about it and go, well, teach them. Okay, here's a tool I have for dealing with that. For instance, another tool I stole from Access Consciousness is, and it's a central tool in the book that I did end up publishing, spoiler alert, I think you know that part. It's called Light versus Heavy. And it's where when you're trying to decide whether to do something or whether something's right, you look at, if I do this, does it feel light and expansive, like a yes? Or does it feel heavy and constricted, like a no? And that actually took me the longest time to get, because I was a good little girl who always did what I thought I was supposed to be doing. And so when you're a good little girl, you do what you should do. And shoulds, as it turns out, are often actually heavy and constricted. I should. No, what I really want to do is this, but I should do this. One story, I don't know if it's in the book or not, but it really influenced me. It was this story of this group of women. I knew one of the women who went to a beautiful bed and breakfast on the outskirts of the city that they lived in, or I don't know if it's technically a bed and breakfast, but a small hotelish thing, right? For the weekend, and they stayed there 2 days, and then on Sunday, there was a host of some kind, right? So not like an Airbnb, humans were there. And their host said to them, you seem to be having such a good time, there's another day available if you want to stay over. And they all went, oh no, we're planning to go back. And they're all looking at each other. Yeah, we said we were going to leave Sunday. And she said, well, this is a Quaker place, and we have a practice of you don't say what you think you're supposed to be doing or what the other people want. You speak your truth. And so I'm going to ask you to all go within, she said, and then say what you would do if you could. And every single one of them said, I would stay another day. And they were going to leave. Right? And how many of us have done this where we just assume, I think it's especially true for women, we just assume that we need to do whatever we already agreed to, and that the other people are going to want to do it, so I can't really say that I want to do it, right? And we don't actually speak our truth and say, and even dial into our truth. We don't actually even notice, what is it that's really that my spirit really wants to do? What does it really want? From that, and from this therapist that I had who said it was a great thing for couples counseling to always look at your 100%. What's your 100%? We do that in groups of friends that I get together with in various places. Warning to some groups of friends that might be getting together with me soon. When we're staying somewhere, we started doing this where every person will say their 100% at the beginning. at first I was afraid everyone would mock me in this one group of friends that we did it with. But everybody said if it were 100% up to me, how we would spend the next few days would be this. Instead of trying to be like, well, if we could just fit in one little 100%. Everyone said they're 100%. And then and no one made fun of me or it, which was amazing given this particular group. Oh my God. I mean, I'm like the least snarky one, and I'm very snarky. And it all transpired. We had the most magical week or days that we were together. We were outside of Yellowstone, and everyone really got to do what they wanted to do, and things happened together. And it was like so much better than previous times where we've had like struggles about how we figure this out. And it was because everyone was dialing into their own truth and speaking their own truth. So, there was a lot of other things I was going to talk to you about, but because the hazard of having a person speaking to you who dials into their own wisdom is that and here I'll cut to the chase, I think of spirit that each of us is a spiritual being having a spiritual experience in a human body on a human plane. And so spirit is showing up as everything in the known and the unknown world, including you, including me, right? So spirit, each of us has online our own individual sort of CEO of spirit that is living in our human body and that is connected to all of wisdom and knows what it knows. But our ego self, our shadow, and other what shoulds and all the things and the society, it is constantly operating, and also 100% or maybe 98% operating on what it did yesterday, what it thought yesterday, what it used to do, right? It's old thoughts run the show, run the program. I mean, this is like demonstrably true. Whatever you did yesterday, you're more likely to do today or tomorrow. You all have a vision. I'm going to affirm that we all have a vision of a world that works for everyone, a world that does. And yet that's not what's showing up in the world. It's not what we see in the world right now. It's not what I see anyway. Maybe you see it. And if you do, then come talk to me and teach me your tricks. And that means that we're in old thoughts, because if we keep seeing the world that way, then we're not seeing what it is, the world we want to see. Then we have to do something different. So what I want you to do right now, I was going to talk to you more about health and how to use some of the tools I have here. I'll show you some of the tools real quick. This is the havingness tool. This tool, it looks like an old-fashioned gauge on an internal combustion engine, if any of you have heard of that in a car. And in California, we don't really have any left, you know. The government just took it away from us. But you see to what degree do you actually have the things you say you want in your life. So if anybody here has been affirming and praying and focusing on full health and you're experiencing something less than full health, if anyone here has been affirming and praying and focusing on a world that works for everyone and you're seeing something less than that, if anyone here has been affirming and praying and focusing on producing a book or a work of art or a creative venture or a woodworking or something you've been shown to do and you've never done it, and if you've been affirming that you want a partner and they haven't seen it, you look and you see, what degree of havingness do I have for this? To what degree am I willing to have what I say I want to have? And you just it pops up on the screen of your mind, and it will work even if you don't think you have a screen of your mind or an imagination. And a lot of people are surprised to find pops up. They have 50%, 60%, 70% havingness. One woman in one talk who gave me permission, and I will wrap up, I promise, organizers. She had been affirming that she wanted a life partner. And she had been affirming it for years, and it wasn't showing up. And when she did havingness, she saw she had 0% havingness for a life partner. In other words, she did not have a willingness to have that which she said she wanted. And she just started laughing during my talk. She interrupted me, and she said, and she started laughing, and she goes, "Oh, I'm so relieved. I really don't want a life partner. I have no interest in a life partner. No wonder I don't have a life partner. Oh my God, I'm so free. Like I can stop. Everyone, please stop praying for me to have a life partner because I'm fine." Oh, and she still texts me once in a while, and it's like, I still don't have a life partner, and I'm so happy you changed my life by showing me that I'm not willing to have that which I say I want. And then others see, they still want it, but why is it 50%? And then they move it in their mind to 100%, and they get to see what's in the way, what they would have to give up. Life, the world that works for everyone is a really good one for that. If I were doing a workshop with you, we'd do something on it. So now I want you, if you're interested, whether you want to buy a book or not, do come up to the table and register if you're interested in a world that works for everyone for Visioning to Heal America or the Sacred Activism online experiences that I have there if you want to be on the list for those. And right now, why don't you go within and see, is it light or heavy? Oh, I forgot to tell you one thing. I'm going to tell you this, and then we're really closing. Our daughter, we have 2 children, our daughter, who's down in New York right now, told me to write this book, and that was the main thing that really got me to write it. She said, "Mom, you have to write this book because all my friends have great parents, but when they go to them with problems, those parents give them advice, and you never give me advice. You just teach me one of your stupid tools and guide me to the stupid tool, and then the stupid tool actually shows me what I should do. And I really think my generation needs this. So what I want you to do is go within and see, don't buy this book because you think you should. Buy this book if it's light for you. If you get a light, like, is this, or buy it for your daughters or your sons or your friends, if it's light for you, if it feels, what will my life feel like in 5 years? I have no idea, right? So I have to dial into that in something that knows. If I were to know what I know, does that feel light and expansive, or does that feel constricted and heavy? And what would it feel like? What would it feel like if I were to give this to my daughter or my child or my friend? Thank you, thank you, thank you, Spirit. Let's take this message into prayer. Just knowing that right where we are, Spirit is. Right where we are, the unlimited power of the One is. Right where we are, clarity, focus, ease, and grace is. Creativity is. Most of all, love is. And I know that each and every person in this room is a spiritual being having a spiritual experience in a human body on a human plane with all the power and the promise and the purpose of the one mind at their disposal. And all the clarity, focus, ease, and grace. And so what energy, space, and consciousness can we in our bodies be to receive all we are here to see and receive, and to perceive all we are here to perceive, and to know and manifest and see a world that works for everyone, where every man, woman, child, and person goes to sleep with a full belly, a full heart, a roof over their head, and love most of all, and peace, peace, peace. And anything that doesn't allow it, can we destroy and uncreate that right now? Yes. Right, wrong, good, bad. destroying all layers of the onion, the beginning of time to the end of the time, all the thoughts, beliefs, opinions, and conclusions that have ever kept us trapped in the current reality or not doing what we are here to do. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you, Spirit, for what else is possible. How does it get better than this? Yes, yes, yes. I let go and I let God, and so it is. Amen. And now I'd like to invite you to take this time into a few minutes of silence in meditation, and let's just hold that vision of a world that works for everyone, particularly peace. Picture aircraft carriers that have been repurposed only for food and clothing and helping, or whatever it is, while we sit.